Being abandoned by someone you love is one of the most devastating psychological experiences a human can endure. It's not just sadness, it's a complete upheaval of your brain, your identity, and your sense of reality. Today, we're exploring what happens in your mind when the person you love walks away, why it hurts so profoundly, and what this reveals about human attachment and survival. When someone you love leaves, your brain often enters shock, a state when your mind simply cannot process the reality of what's happening. Even if you saw warning signs, even if the relationship was struggling, the finality of them actually leaving creates such severe cognitive dissonance that your brain temporarily shuts down normal emotional processing. This numbness isn't weakness, it's protection. Your psychological system is being overwhelmed with information it cannot integrate. The person central to your life is gone. The future you planned has been deleted. Your entire daily reality must be reconstructed. Your mind cannot handle all of this at once, so it creates a buffer of disbelief. People describe feeling like they're watching their life from outside their body, going through motions mechanically, but nothing feels real. This shock is your brain buying time, protecting you from the full weight of loss until you have the capacity to bear it. But this numbness is temporary. When it wears off, the real devastation begins. To understand why being left feels like dying, you need to understand attachment. From infancy, humans are wired to form deep bonds because attachment literally equals survival. A baby separated from their caregiver faces death, so the brain developed powerful alarm systems to maintain closeness. These mechanisms don't disappear in adulthood. When you fall in love, your partner becomes a primary attachment figure, activating the same neural circuitry as the infant caregiver bond. They become your source of safety, comfort, and emotional regulation. When they leave, your brain processes it as a survival threat. The pain isn't metaphorical. Brain imaging shows that romantic rejection activates the same areas as physical pain. Your nervous system is screaming that you've lost a crucial source of safety and you're now vulnerable. This is why being left can feel like you're dying. Your attachment system floods your body with stress hormones, creates panic, generates desperate attempts to restore the bond. The obsessive thoughts, the inability to focus, the physical symptoms, these aren't weakness. You're experiencing a fundamental biological crisis response to attachment severance. Your brain believes finding them and fixing this is your primary survival imperative. That's why you can't stop thinking about them. Being left doesn't just mean losing a person, it means losing a version of yourself. In intimate relationships, your identity becomes partially merged with your partner's. You define yourself in relation to them as their partner, as part of we, as someone building a shared future. When they leave, this identity structure collapses. All the ways you understood who you were suddenly have no foundation. The future self you were becoming with them has been erased. This creates profound disorientation. You look in the mirror and don't recognize yourself. Your life feels like a story with no plot. Questions like "what do I want?" become impossible to answer because all your answers were built on a foundation that no longer exists. Many describe feeling like a ghost haunting their own life. This is identity dissolution. The psychological structure that organized your sense of self has been demolished, and you haven't built a new one yet. This is especially severe if you defined yourself primarily through the relationship, if you abandon parts of yourself to maintain it. When they leave, you discover you don't know who you are independently. As shock wears off, your mind desperately tries to make sense of what happened and find a way to reverse it. Your brain cannot accept that something so important is simply over, so it creates narratives. If I had just done this differently, if I change, they'll come back. They're confused and will realize their mistake. This bargaining isn't rational. It's a psychological defense against accepting finality. Your mind obsessively replays the relationship, searching for the exact moment things went wrong, the specific mistake that caused them to leave. This feels productive, like if you identify the problem, you can fix it. But this is your mind avoiding an unbearable truth. Sometimes there is no fix, no going back, no control over someone else's decision to leave. This phase can trap you for months or years. You cannot grieve what you're still trying to undo. You cannot move forward while mentally negotiating with the past. The bargaining mind keeps you in painful limbo between the relationship that was and a future you cannot yet imagine. Being left often triggers deep shame, even when you know rationally the relationship's failure wasn't entirely your fault. Your mind searches for why you were rejected, and the conclusion it reaches is devastating. There's something fundamentally wrong with me. I'm unlovable. This self-blame serves a psychological function despite the pain. If you're to blame, you have control. You can fix yourself and prevent this from happening again. But if someone can simply stop loving you despite your best efforts, then you're fundamentally unsafe in relationships. The mind often chooses self-blame over existential uncertainty. Every flaw they mentioned becomes confirmation you're defective. Every comparison to their new partner becomes evidence of your inferiority. The shame spiral can become so severe you avoid intimacy entirely. This intensifies if you beg them to stay, if you made yourself vulnerable in ways they rejected. The memory of your desperate attempts creates secondary shame, shame about how you acted in crisis, shame about your own need and vulnerability. After shock and bargaining, anger often emerges. Psychologically, anger serves a crucial function. It's energizing. It counteracts helplessness and despair. It creates distance from pain by focusing on their faults, their betrayal, their cruelty. Anger is armor against the excruciating tenderness of heartbreak. As long as you're angry, you don't have to feel how much you still love them and want them back. The angry mind catalogs their faults, rewrites relationship history to emphasize their failures, sometimes demonizes them completely. This isn't necessarily true, but it's psychologically necessary to create enough distance to start protecting yourself. Some people get stuck here for years, building identities around being wronged. But healthy recovery requires moving through anger, not living in it. The anger must eventually give way to what's underneath, the grief. When bargaining stops and anger subsides, you're left with pure grief, raw emotional experience of losing someone who mattered profoundly. This is often the most painful phase because there's no defense, just the full weight of loss. Grief over being left is complicated because unlike death, they're still alive, just choosing not to be with you. This creates ambiguous loss. You can't fully grieve because they're not gone, just gone from you. The grief comes in waves, a song, a place, a smell. Suddenly you're drowning in loss again. Your brain is processing the thousands of small ways they were woven into your life, and each realization is a fresh wound. You're grieving not just them, but everything they represented, the future you'd planned, dreams you built together, the version of yourself you were becoming with them, the home you created, sometimes entire friend groups or families lost. People resist this phase because it feels like giving up, but grief isn't resignation, it's necessary psychological work of metabolizing loss so it doesn't remain a fresh wound forever. You have to feel it to heal it. Recovery from being left requires understanding that the pain is real and normal, but it doesn't have to destroy you. The attachment wound will heal, though it leaves a scar. Your identity will reconstruct itself, often stronger and more authentic. The obsessive thoughts will eventually quiet. What determines whether this experience destroys or transforms you? Whether you do the psychological work, grieving fully, examining patterns honestly, rebuilding identity independently, or whether you avoid the pain through substances, rebound relationships, or building walls against future vulnerability. The narrative you construct matters enormously. If you conclude I'm unlovable or love isn't real, you sabotage future connection. But if you hold the truth, this specific person left for specific reasons I may never fully understand, and I can survive this and love again, you leave room for possibility. Being left by someone you love reveals the deepest aspects of human attachment and resilience. The pain is neurological and psychological real. You're not weak for being devastated. You're human, experiencing one of the most profound losses a person can endure. The most important truth: being left does not mean you're unlovable. It means a specific relationship ended for reasons that likely have more to do with compatibility and timing than your fundamental worth. You will not always hurt this much. The wound will heal, your identity will reconstruct, and someday you will be capable of loving again, not despite this experience, but informed by it. Being left teaches you that you can survive the unsurvivable. That's not the lesson you wanted, but it's profound wisdom nonetheless. You're stronger than you know. If you're experiencing this kind of loss, please seek support from a therapist specializing in attachment and grief. You're not alone. Share your thoughts in the comments, like and subscribe for more psychology content.